Yeah, so a lot of Bitcoiners I talk to, they often don't realize that they actually have about 20% less Bitcoin than they think they do. Because that day when you sell, whether it's short-term or long-term capital gains or just basic income, the government's going to take a big bite out of it. That's part of why we built the hack that we created was...
What's going on, guys? We got an awesome conversation that's going to help you save money today. It is with founder and COO Chris Klein of BitcoinIRA. In this conversation, we know that tax season is coming to a close. There's a deadline coming up on April 15th, and Chris is here to explain exactly what you can do, how to do it, how to fund these accounts, how to use the tax advantage code to your benefit. So make sure you listen to the whole thing. He's got tons of alpha that he's going to share with you. And then, of course, we got a couple good stories, including one guy who's got $50 million in his retirement account. I think you guys are going to love it. Here's my latest conversation with Chris Klein. So Chris, I thought a great place to start the conversation is there's this big rumor in Washington, D.C. that the current administration is going to remove all capital gains tax for Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. Obviously, if you hold Bitcoin or crypto, you're super excited about this. Do you think it's going to happen? What do you kind of evaluate in terms of what the impact would be if they do this?
It's definitely an exciting rumor for sure. I think that it's going to probably maybe even go beyond crypto too, because the guys that are in real estate or equities or other things are going to say, well, what about us? What about our capital gains? But, you know, hope isn't necessarily a strategy. You have to think long term. When you're looking to sell things or thinking about retirement, when you sell an asset, for you and I, we'll be 7 to 10 presidents or administrations from now. Who's going to be in charge? What will taxes look like then? But certainly something that will accelerate the short term.
And when you think about that 7 to 10 years, one of the big things that I always think about is investing. There's basically 3 inputs to what the return is and what's your take home money, right? Not what is it on paper, but what do you actually get back? And so if they remove capital gains tax, that'd be huge, but it's what asset am I buying and when am I buying it?
Yep.
What asset am I selling and when am I selling it? And then the third one is the big bad taxes. And you guys seem to be very, very focused on helping Bitcoiners and crypto holders invest in these assets in a tax advantaged way. And there's a whole bunch of things that I think we're going to get into in terms of how you can do that. But talk a little bit just about like taxes in general being such a big impact on what the return is, because you guys see all the data. You see what your customers are doing. Absolutely. And you can see how important it is to have these tax advantaged accounts. Yeah.
So a lot of Bitcoiners I talk to, they often don't realize that they actually have about 20% less Bitcoin than they think they do. Because that day when you sell, whether it's short-term or long-term capital gains or just basic income, the government's going to take a big bite out of it. But no matter who's in charge, that's the nature of the beast. And so that's part of why we built the hack that we created was what better way to get into cryptocurrency if you think long-term than use some of the tools like Roths and traditionals and SEPs. That these are the tools that the government gives us to save effectively so that we can avoid some of those tax hits down the road.
So you guys have these IRA accounts. There's a whole bunch of different types of IRAs that you can do. There's a couple of different ways to fund it, which I think maybe is a good place to start, right? Is you can just contribute, but there's other ways as well. And so maybe walk through like, how does money get into these accounts? And what are you seeing your customers do? Like, what are the most popular ways that they get money into these accounts?
Absolutely. There's 3 key ways. So you just mentioned contribution. You can do up to $7,500 if you're under 50 or $8,000 a year now if you're over 50. And that's a pretty popular way to continue to grow your retirement every year, which actually the tax deadline's coming up, April 15th. You have until then to do last year's contribution. A lot of folks, they call it the catch-up contribution. Oh, I forgot to do it last year. I have until April 15th. That's one way. But the more popular is to fund from an existing IRA, like if you got something at Fidelity, Charles Schwab, even Edward Jones, you can transfer from your left-hand pocket to your right-hand pocket. There's no tax implication because it's staying inside the tax deferred and sheltered umbrella. And then the really big one is your old 401k or 403b or pension, or maybe you might have had a TSP as a soldier, is to roll those over into these traditional or Roth IRA tools. It's really important that when you leave a job, it liberates your 401k, and you don't want to leave it behind at the old employer. You can move it at that time.
So talk through that a little bit, right? So like if you have a 401k but you left the job, like what do? You just call somebody up and you're like, hey, give me my 401k, or how does that work?
In fact, we have folks that help you do that because it is one of the more, I would say, tenuous processes. They don't really like to give up that AUC or that assets under management. So what you'll do is first you open up a like kind account. So if you have you can have pre or post tax funds, you open that on our side, you'll have a traditional or Roth IRA, and then you request a rollover. Sometimes like some of the smaller groups have this cumbersome paperwork you have to fill out. We can help you do that. And then often you just call or go online to like Net Benefits or things like that, and they'll send a check made out to the new financial institution and then get deposited in your new IRA. IRA.
So they're basically like kind of like a gym subscription or something like that. They really don't want you to be able to get the money.
They're really good at holding on to
What's
it.
the craziest things you guys have seen them try to do to hold on to those assets?
The time periods. So pensions are the worst. I've seen a pension take 90 days to issue a distribution, and it just blew my mind because if I took 90 days as a financial services firm to give somebody their money, I would probably be in court. But because pensions are, and also the TSPs are government driven. So if you go and see the forms, remember those old forms like in the 80s where it's like a box for that, they still use those forms. I can't wait till Elon finds this bunker full of paperwork. And so then you have to send it off. You can't fax it. You have to mail it old school mail, no FedEx, no UPS. Has got to go USPS to them. It's actually processed in this bunker in Pennsylvania that was used.
Oh, literally in a bunker.
It literally is in a bunker. And they've got, I could imagine, I've never been in there, but I can imagine like these stacks and stacks and stacks of old like filing cabinets. And on average, a TSP can take upwards of 15, 20 days. In fact, there was I think right after COVID, with a lot of people that got opened distribution availability for them because they lost their jobs, they had like a 6-month backlog. It was on the news. And these are veterans. These are folks that have dedicated their time to our country, and they have to wait to basically liberate their funds. I have seen, the ones that are really good are 403Bs or 457s for firemen, nurses, and police officers. Those usually, because they have great unions to make sure they get taken care of.
Now, let's talk about the types of accounts here, because when I first started making any little bit of money, I was like, what's a retirement account? I don't even know what that is. Oh, it's tax advantage. Like, okay, I'm interested. You hear about a Roth or you hear about some of these things. And I remember the first time an accountant told me about a SEP account.
Yeah.
And I was like, whoa, baby, that sounds awesome.
bigger contributions.
So explain a little bit about the different account types and why certain people may use different accounts.
The most common you see out there is a traditional IRA. It's post-tax money, or sorry, pre-tax money. And what that does is it allows you, so say you made $100,000 last year and you contribute to a traditional IRA $8,000. Now your taxable income is dropped by $8,000. So now you have a $92,000 that they do the math of your taxes on. Great way to, especially if you're close to a bracket, to be able to drop that down and get underneath that next bracket in the waterfall. The next, which came up in the 70s, is the Roth IRA. It's actually named after Edward Roth he's from Delaware, of all places, a senator, that we were in a crisis. We were in a savings crisis in America in the 70s. We were in a lot of crises, oil crises, inflation crises, but we're also in a savings crisis. Folks were just not saving money. So he mechanized and got passed through the Senate a tool where you do post-tax money. So instead of get that benefit on the front side, you get the benefit on the back side. You are able to take funds out completely tax-free. And I want to repeat that, tax-free when you reach the age of retirement. So if your $8,000 in Bitcoin skyrockets to $800,000, when you start taking your distributions at that ripe age of 59 and a half, or if you wait till later, you're completely tax-free. It also has two really cool mechanisms for younger guys. You can use it for higher education expenses without penalty or taxes, and you can use it for first-time home buying expenses without penalty or taxes.
And so once you put the money in, it's already been, you've already got some taxes there, but it's growing, and you can trade
all
you,
day.
You can go from a ETF to spot Bitcoin to your favorite, Bitcoin treasury company,
or any altcoin, or swap between any other crypto that's out there.
All kinds of different things in there, and you're not paying taxes.
No capital gains taxes.
And the whole key is that essentially they have incentivized you financially to be a long-term thinker till you're 59 and a half.
These are the tools they gave us. It said, hey, if you put the money in here, you can trade all day long, go crazy. You don't have to report it because it's staying inside that shelter of what we call the tax umbrella over the top of it. And so until you take distribution, you won't have any tax implications.
And when you get to 59 and a half, you can just take 100% of it, or you have to take out a little bit?
You can take it all at that point, but it's important because if you're in a traditional environment where you will have income taxes, a lot of accountants will say, make sure you're not putting too much out, because you don't want to all of a sudden take out $1 million and have this giant tax bill. You got to be strategic about it, spread it across, just like dollar cost averaging with investments. Mm-hmm. Average your way out of your retirement and only take out what you need for expenses every year, mm-hmm. or if you have some big plan that you want to do. Now with the Roth, you can go crazy because it's tax free.
Yeah, so with the Roth, you can just take out 100% of it at 59 and a half, and you're good to go.
Yep, absolutely.
And is that how I think Peter Thiel put equity from PayPal, and it became like a couple $2 billion?
Yes, that's how he started with the PayPal equity. Then he put his shares of Facebook, Airbnb, and Uber inside the same Roth account. And I think it's up to $2 or $3 billion now, which is driving the government crazy, of course, right? But then also you brought up the SEP. You have a SEP account with us, and that you're qualified for that. And a lot of folks are more qualified for SEPs than ever before because we're in a gig economy. We're all running our own small business, even though a lot of us may be 1040 or W-2 incomes. If you have any 1099 incomes, run a small business, your contribution skyrockets. You can do upwards of $50,000 to $60,000 a contribution, which for a small business, amazing.
So just so people understand, a SEP account is something, if you have a small business or you have this 1099 income, what you're able to do is you're able to put a higher degree of capital in. Yes. It's going in pre or post-tax?
It's
pre-tax. And same thing, just continues to compound in there, tax-free, and you're good to go.
And every year you get that larger contribution. There's also something that's become really popular for higher net worth earners called a solo K or an Indie K. And this is where between, if you and your spouse, you can put upwards of almost $150,000 tucked away pre-tax and get that benefit and lower that income bracket for your small business.
And so what are like the rich people doing? I think that's the key that everyone wants to know, right? Is they're like, hey, I'm operating, maybe I'm smart, maybe I even know an accountant, I have an accountant, I talk to an accountant, they tell me some things here and there, but like I know they got rich clients that are doing stuff I'm not doing. Like what should I be doing? What do you see the wealthiest clients on your platform doing that maybe the average person doesn't know about?
Backdoor Roths is probably the most popular because what happens is with the Roth, the way they did put a limitation on it, you have to make only less than $142,000, $150,000 called the MAGI score. It's your adjusted gross income. If that's over a certain level, then you're not eligible to contribute to Roths.
Okay.
So what they'll do is they'll contribute, or they'll have a traditional IRA already, say $500,000 or $1 million, and they'll see Bitcoin like it did for the last couple of weeks dip down into 79, 80,000, and they'll time their conversion. So they'll convert from a traditional to a Roth. It's commonly known as a backdoor Roth. What they do is you pay the taxes now, but you're now taking that pre-tax money, turning it into post-tax money and watching it grow over time. Especially if it's not just being rich, but being very confident with your investment strategy. If you think that's going to 5 or 6x, because you also think just 7 years from now, miners are going to be competing over less than 1 Bitcoin for every block. And we all know what that's going to do to the price of Bitcoin as supply and demand constraints come into play. So if you're thinking that long term, this may be the time where people, I mean, I hear it all the time. My Uber driver tells me all the time, oh man, Bitcoin's too expensive. Rich people are thinking, man, that's pretty cheap right now when you think about the economics of it.
And so when you look at these different accounts, right? Tax season is coming. There's a lot of people who are saying, maybe I didn't plan as much as I should have planned. What can they still do between now and this tax deadline that may put them in a better position than they are now? And then obviously they should be responsible and go and plan and, kind of do things for next year. But right now, is there anything they can do in this last couple of weeks that they should be thinking about?
Yes, they can. They have up until April 15th to contribute for last year. And what a lot of folks do is, hey, I don't want to be in the same place again next year. So they'll do a double down. They'll do their $7,500 for 24 and just go ahead and get the $7,500 done for 25. And now you've put $15,000 pre or post tax away that you can start investing in things like cryptocurrency. And you have up until that deadline. We make it really simple because we have a Plaid integrated. So you can just log in and connect your bank account, and the next day the funds are there available for you to trade, and everything gets filed appropriately for the tax year that you're looking for. But that's probably the most popular thing right now. And to incentivize folks, for the Pomp special, we're carrying it all the way through April 15th. You can earn up to $1,000 in cashback rewards for contributing your deposits.
Oh, how does that work?
So for up to, I think if you do up to $200,000, it's $1,000 that we give you back as a gift card that you can use for. Some people will just turn it into cash and contribute for the next year. Others will use it to just to have a nice dinner with their family or otherwise. But we'll send you, and then it starts at $100 or $50 all the way up to $1,000 based upon the amount that you deposit.
Got it. And so when people are doing these rollovers, you mentioned that you have people, if I remember correctly, you guys also have like a phone number people can call. And one of the knocks, I worked at Facebook, and I would always talk to people like, hey, what can we do better? They'd always say something like, there's no number to call. No, there's no number to call, right? Forget answering the phone. There was no number to call. And so they're like, how does this work? And we were building all these widgets and flows and all these things to do customer service and, answer people's questions or take their complaints and all that kind of stuff. But in finance, it's a little bit different. Like you got people's money. And so explain a little bit as to how you guys operate. Like you've mentioned a couple of times, you're helping people with the 401k kind of recoveries or rollovers. You have a number, like what is this?
Absolutely. So we have two teams of folks. We have vice presidents of retirement and their assistants that you can call at any time, 877-936-7175.
You even got it memorized.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've left a lot of voicemails.
Say it again.
877-936-7175.
All right.
And the cool part part is we focus on being real crypto, real people. So this isn't a phone line that you're going to call and wait for 15, 20 minutes. We have a standard SLA of 120 seconds or less. You're on the phone with somebody. And these guys and gals have been with me, many of them for almost a decade. We have very little turnover, and they've been helping Americans retire with crypto. For some of them had opened 2,000 or 3,000 accounts in their lifetime and helping account holders. So they're available. They can walk you through how to fund, how the platform works. They'll help you do the online application, make sure everything's buttoned up and really tailor to your needs. Everybody, this is your retirement. This is the holy grail of your financial savings. So we try to take that human touch with you. Now, also along the way, when you're trying to fund, if we run into problems with Edward Jones trying to move the money over, or they need you to, we had this one yesterday where they had one share they were waiting for 60 cents. It was 60 cents to liquidate, and they rejected the entire transfer for like over 200,000. And it was for that 60 cents that they did that. So we jump on the phone and we go, hey, come on, let's get this taken care of, because a lot of times folks don't realize that all you got to do is put a little bit of pressure in the right places and funds will move faster, because everybody wants to get into crypto quick, right? We're knocking on 90's door again, and who knows where we'll be within the next couple of months.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. And so once the money's in, right, any one of these accounts, what can people do with it in there? Today's episode is brought to you by NASDAQ-listed BitDeer. They trade under the stock ticker BTDR. They're led by a seasoned management team. BitDeer is a global leader in Bitcoin mining and high-performance computing for artificial intelligence, and they are backed by technological innovation and a massive 2.5 gigawatt global power portfolio. Recently, BitDeer launched its own Bitcoin mining ASICs named the Seal Miner to target what Wall Street analysts project to be a multi-billion-dollar annual market. Their proprietary Seal Miner ASICs are redefining efficiency and performance, and they are backed by the industry's most advanced chip roadmap, with 2 more groundbreaking models set to launch in 2025. To learn more about BitDeer's cutting-edge technology and business, visit their website at bitdeer.com. That's BITDEER.com. Go check out BitDeer today. Today's episode is brought to you by Zappo Bank, where eligible members can unlock the power of Bitcoin without selling it. Need cash fast? With Zappo Bank's Bitcoin-backed loans, you can access 40% of your Bitcoin's value, borrowing as much as $1 million for a full year with low interest rates, 0 fees, and no early repayment fees either. Now, here's the best part. You keep your Bitcoin, meaning you get to watch your holdings grow as the price of Bitcoin increases. Whether you're looking to buy a house, fund your child's education, or seize an exciting investment opportunity, these loans give you the flexibility to access cash without selling your Bitcoin. Unlike traditional loans, Zappo Bank's Bitcoin-backed loans have no minimum repayments, no early repayment penalties, and the flexibility to settle your loan in USD or Bitcoin whenever it suits you. It's liquidity entirely on your terms. Zappo understands the unique needs of Bitcoin holders. That's why they have developed a product designed specifically for you. With over a decade of experience in the Bitcoin space, Zappo Bank has been a trusted partner for those looking to make the most of their Bitcoin while keeping it safe. Your Bitcoin stays safe in your vault, untouched, never lent out, and secured in a global network of military-grade bunkers with cutting-edge security technology. Head to zappobank.com/pomp to learn more. That's XAPOBANK.com/pomp. Go check them out at zappobank.com/pomp today.
Pretty much whatever they like. They can sit in cash if they want to. They can average their way in. We have, what is it now? 75 different cryptocurrencies available. So we've got pretty much everything your heart could desire. We just
careful. There's meme coins and stuff.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of crazy
75.
ones. But we listen to our clients. We started as just Bitcoin. That's why our name's BitcoinIRA. But we listen to our clients. I remember April of 2018. Or 17, we added Ethereum, which I remember we added it was $40, and within a month it was $400, and people were thrilled. Later that year, we added XRP, we did the Bitcoin Cash fork support, and tossed in Litecoin. And then slowly we've been adding more and more coins. Most recently, I would say the most popular new ones have been, we did add the Trump coin for those that wanted it. Sui has been a big one as well. And whatever the clients are looking for, we really try to make this a self-directed choice, but you can invest in all those types of coins if you just want to do Bitcoin. And then later this quarter, we're relaunching both staking and covered call programs. So this is a way for you to make yield with your assets instead of just having them sit there. Great tools, especially in quiet markets, to just stack up more ETH or stack up more Bitcoin. And I think there's about 6 coins that'll be available for staking. One, I think Avalanche is paying up almost 7 or 8%, which this is a whole new ball game of yield though, not like what we saw back in 2022 and 2023.
people are buying the Trump meme coin in the retirement account?
Yeah, they were asking for it. I was
that's
shocked.
crazy.
I was shocked. Yeah. I mean, and the only bummer, I guess the only bummer I felt was we didn't get it before the big run when it went crazy in January. But there's folks that have put that. I mean, Shiba's really popular.
Who are these people? Are they just like normal Americans? Or are they like, wealthy investors who are like, hey, this is like kind of my play money, and I'm taking 1-2% of my entire net worth and I'm doing this? Or like
a little bit of everything. So when I was talking about that rollover, we had a guy, early adopter back in 2016. He quit his job at Intel. He actually quit his job. He had a great job, making great money, because he wanted to liberate his 401k. He had almost $500,000 in there, and he wanted to get into Bitcoin. And this was back when we were at $600, $700 a Bitcoin. And now, fast forward these 10 years, and he's upwards of about 5 or 6 million in his retirement. And he took early retirement. We helped change his life, and he focuses on a charity. His son has a very rare degenerative disease in the spinal cord, so he focuses on that with his family.
Mm-hmm.
Another one, a doctor from Sri Lanka I was talking to just last week. My birthday was last week, so I talked to a couple clients. They called, wish me happy birthday. He was telling me this story. He has 4 kids. He got them all through school and engineering school and medical school, but he really focused on kids' success, and he left himself with about $75,000 for his retirement. He took 35 of it and put it in Bitcoin with us, and now he's up to, I think, 2.5 million. And what he's planning on doing is building a small business on blockchain to disrupt physicians and streamline the physician process. For that paperwork we have to constantly fill out every time we go to the doctor's office. So these are just a few of the stories. We also have Rocket Ron, who's my favorite. He texts me almost every morning. He wakes me up like the Bitcoin price, whatever it's doing, he wakes me up with it almost every morning. And we get to know clients like this really closely. And he's big on right now. He's really big on XRP and XLM because of the case that got just dropped from the SEC. So these are not maniacs. They are a lot of our early founders. I called them the engine nerds because they were from NASA, IBM, Intel, those types of places. But it's a lot of just regular folks like you and I that are just looking for an ability to keep up and beat inflation and keep up from all these haircuts. I mean, I look at my parents' generation, and every 5 or 6 years, it was a big haircut on their 401k. And even for us, growing up, I was 18 when the towers fell. I was coming out of college when the housing crisis happened, and then building a small business when COVID took place. It's an upward battle for Americans. So we need every tool we can to try to accelerate our retirement chances.
When you look inside these accounts, are people trading a lot because there's no tax ramification?
There's a lot of trading. Yeah,
there is.
Yeah.
Okay, so explain a little bit more as to like, is this like daily, weekly? Are people like day trading with their retirement accounts?
I don't think day trading. There are a few, like maybe a handful of those guys, and some of them have done well. It's just like day trading in anything, right? You're taking risks because a lot of movement. Sometimes just sitting still is a great thing. I used to joke with my partners that the investment capital we put in to build the company, if we would have just bought Bitcoin that day instead of started a company, we'd probably all be retired by now. But we wouldn't have been able to help thousands. I mean, we're up to almost 50,000 account holders that we've helped.
Wow.
And 14,000.
50,000.
Yeah. And 14. Well, in January was 15 billion of assets in custody. Now I think it's about 14 billion. But yeah, that's kind of the excitement about the whole thing.
And how do you guys make money in this whole thing?
Of course. So we have a few ways that we make it. First, when you deposit funds, there's a small fee to deposit, set up the account. We create this pentagon of custody around your account. This wasn't something we just tripped into and said, hey, let's just use wallets here left and right. You're a pretty versed guy. Most of your audience is. We use cold storage to cold storage technology. We partnered with the best like BitGo for years. They're the layers of administrative control. If you ever want to move your Bitcoin out, which you can do in distribution, we can talk about that. You have to go through AI video verification. You have to talk to a human. Like a lot of this, I think of like the Pentagon, the rings that go around it. Every one of those is a layer of security. So to set that up, we have a fee. Transaction fees are a market standard, somewhere between 1% to 2%. And then an ongoing insurance fee. Every wallet is covered for up to $250 million a year or per wallet for any incident. And so there's a 0.0008 monthly wallet fee that's associated.
That's like such a small, that's like
when
dust.
You think about it. Yeah, it's like dust.
Okay. And then what are the risks, right? Like with crypto, if people are putting their crypto in here, if I leave my crypto on an exchange or something, right, there's obviously like hacking risk. I can be socially engineered, whatever. You're talking a little bit about, you call it like Pentagon security or whatever. How do you guys think of what the risks are for people? And then how are you guys mitigating it?
Your greatest risk is yourself. As we found over the years, is that people will get SIM swapped and they'll get hacked on their emails, and people will impersonate them. We've had some folks that have been, their business has been hijacked, and then they get the ransom and they know that they have these. These are all layers of security we put to prevent that. So multi-factor authentication for your login. Your assets stay in the ecosystem. But like, so if you log into Coinbase, that's your actual Bitcoin. And if somebody got your login, they could simply take that Bitcoin, move it to another wallet. If somebody got into your account, that Bitcoin's not going anywhere. And we have had people that have been hacked, and then somebody will try to do a distribution request or something. And once we put them through, hey, we got to get you on video. We have to do an AI authentication. We go through all these layers in order to confirm that it is you, in fact, that wants to do this. And so that's those layers. Now, you have the traditional risk of anything with investing. The other thing that's really nice versus your Coinbase or even your Ledger is you have your beneficiary set up. So if something was to happen to you, like my wife's set up for mine and as my primary beneficiary, and my contingent is my daughter. So they don't have to go running around finding seeds and figuring out how to use those little Ledger devices, or in general just losing it. Like that one guy that bought the trash dump because his Ledger was thrown away by his wife. This is all programmed into the system so that you don't have to worry about when I die, are my family members and heirs able to access that Bitcoin?
And what is the process there, right? Because I do think this is a big problem that people worry about is like, hey, something happens to me. Like what happens? You set up a beneficiary, somebody passes away, unfortunately, you just contact the beneficiary and work through the process with them to get the funds?
Yep, absolutely. Usually we don't know that the person's passed, so the beneficiary will come to us. What we do is we set you up with a nice little welcome package. So once you open and fund the account, we have you set up your beneficiaries, and then we put together letters that you put in your safe or where you put all your other regular documents so that they know to call us. And then all they really have to do is call us, provide a death certificate, go through an onboarding process. So we'll open up an account for the wife or for the kids or the grandkids, and then they'll be able to access it, and they don't have to get rid of the Bitcoin either. That's one that's really interesting, a pattern I see. So like when my grandfather passed in 2020, everybody just said, liquidate all the assets. We all want cash, right? I find that a lot of these grandkids don't even know grandpa bought Bitcoin, and they're thrilled. And so they're like, well, can I hold on to the Bitcoin? I want to keep it. And yeah, so we open up what's known as an inherited IRA account for you. So now it's in the name of you in honor of your deceased family member, and you can continue the tax deferment.
Oh, you could pass it down.
Yep, you pass it down.
Oh, interesting. So there's no tax. There's no.
As long as you keep it in that inherited IRA and don't take distribution.
Oh, interesting. And so is this a way that wealthy people pass money down to
Absolutely.
their children?
Great way to pass things down. Avoid that death tax, as they called it in the 80s, or the estate tax is a great tool for that.
Yeah, very interesting. As you've been building this, what's the number one surprise so far? I mean, you've been doing it for years now. You've got 50,000 customers that are on the platform approximately. You said $14-15 billion of assets. I'm assuming what you started out to build is not exactly what you ended up building, just in the nature of entrepreneurship. But are there any major surprises along the way?
I would probably say the engagement from the client. So I've done financial services before, and a lot of folks kind of just set and forget their retirements, and it's something that they don't think about, especially old 401ks. The number of people that are actively engaged in providing feedback and willing to share their stories and get on and help others, and the referrals is insane. Like I would say probably 40% of those accounts are clients referring their friends or family to us. And that might be because we're doing a great job or because it's just so exciting. But that's probably the two biggest surprises, and what people do with it later. Like, I always thought when I watch some of these accounts go to 2, 3, 4, we have one that's at $50 million.
So we got $50 million in their retirement account.
In their retirement account with us in a Roth setting as well. And
wow.
Yeah, and traded? No, they just did. They came in perfectly at COVID when everything just plummeted. Bitcoin went down to like 7,000. Got in there, did a big swap into Solana a couple of years ago before it went.
They basically traded their way up to 50
billion. They traded their way.
What did they start with?
5.
Remember? 5 million.
5.
Oh, okay. So 5. So they start with a big pile.
Yeah, but still to go from 5 to 50.
It's 10x. Yeah, of course.
And then they're still holding. Like the commitment of crypto people, and especially Bitcoin folks, the hodler mentality is unreal. And it inspires me every day that we're doing something right, because this is a scarce asset. I was just on with Yahoo Finance yesterday, and they talking about why do you think it's a hedge against inflation? It's the only scarce asset we have in our lives.
Yeah, $50 million in a retirement account.
That's crazy.
By trading. That guy's doing pretty good, or that girl, whatever. All right, where can we send people if they're interested in doing this? And then also, do you guys provide tax advice, or do you recommend them to accountants, or how does that work?
We recommend you always meet with your tax attorney or CPA. We have a list of them that are available that like to work with us.
Preferred vendor type.
Yeah, preferred vendor type groups. But the best place is obviously if you just want to get started, 877-936-7175 or BitcoinIRA.com/Pomp, because then we'll identify them as a Pomp listener, and they'll get that reward after they deposit.
Oh, so if they go to /Pomp, then they get this.
Or when you call in, make sure that you know us from Pomp.
Oh, Okay. Hey,
your audience loves to make phone calls. By
yeah, do they really?
We get a lot of phone calls.
Try to say we got a lot of boomers out here.
No,
young people. It's young people.
Young people too. I mean, I was reading this study about
the boomers. Know I love them. So,
oh yeah, I love the boomers too. They're my favorite. But I was reading something about Gen Z is having to take therapy classes to get ready for work to do telecommunications. They're terrified of the phone, of either making or receiving phone calls. So this is like a new thing companies are adding to their training. We
got a couple of people that I know that
won't like that. They like to do the text.
I call them all the time. Hey, I don't got time to be going back and forth. Just tell me what you got to tell me. Let's
Agreed.
go, right?
I'm an old school guy like that as well.
Yeah, but okay, so young people are calling too.
Yeah, young people are calling too.
That makes me happy. All right, so BitcoinIRA.com/pomp is where to send people. Awesome. I love what you guys are doing. I'm a user. I obviously like the product, and I think that more people should just understand how to do this, especially with the tax season kind of coming to an end.
Deadline's coming. Time to act now.
It's like, hey man, let's go.
Because once the 15th's over, you miss the year. There's no catching up after that. So that's $8,000 that or $7,500 that the government said you could save that you no longer can save. So it's best to take advantage of it.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, we'll definitely do this again in the future.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me again.